guys, what's up? Chef Hamel here, and today we are going to be making one of my absolute favorite pasta dishes, spaghetti carbonara. So spaghetti carbonara is a traditional Italian pasta dish that originated in the Lazio region of Italy, which is where Rome is located. And it is a really, really simple sauce made from eggs. I'm using egg yolks today because I actually made Italian buttercream earlier for a cake, which called for egg whites, and so I have the yolks. But some recipes do call for egg yolks and whole eggs, or just whole eggs. Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, which is a traditional hard cheese from the Parma region of Italy, also known as Parmesan cheese. But Parmigiano Reggiano, in order to have that name, is from that region in Italy. Absolutely delicious. Our pasta, of course, it's traditionally spaghetti. I don't have any, so I have this pasta here, which is very similar to bucatini. It is a long pasta that is actually like little hollow inside, like it has like a hole throughout the pasta itself. So I'm going to be using that just because I'm going to use it up. And of course, bacon. So traditionally, spaghetti carbonara utilizes guanciale, which is a cured pork product that is actually the pork cheek, or the cheek of a pig, but that is a little bit tricky to find sometimes. And of course, during quarantine, all I have is bacon, but you could use pancetta or prosciutto as well, but just remember that the sauce really needs the fat from the pork, so definitely pick a pork product that is a little bit fattier. So we have two pans going here. My first pot has water that is pretty much boiling at this point, and we need to make sure that we salt it. So when I salt pasta water, I am very, very generous. About 2 really big pinches, because this pasta water is going to be later added to the pan for our sauce that is going to help emulsify it and for the sauce to come together. In my other pot, I'm going to add my bacon, which is cut into lardons, which are just pretty much thin strips of bacon. And I have this pan on about a medium heat. So we want to render down all of this fat. And this is a really simple sauce, as you can see. There's not many ingredients. And by adding the pasta water to the bacon fat or to the pork fat, no matter what pork product you're using, it is actually going to emulsify the sauce and make it really thick. And once you add the egg yolks, it is just a home run. It is so delicious. So I'm going to add my pasta to my pot of boiling water. I'm probably just going to use up this box. Beautiful. And of course, let's see. So it says 9 minutes until al dente on the box. So I'm going to cook it for 8 minutes. So I'm actually going to set my timer on my microwave for 8 minutes. Oh, not my microwave, the timer. And we'll check it after that. We want the pasta to be al dente or even a little bit firmer than al dente, because we're gonna add it to our pot of sauce and it's going to continue cooking in our pot of sauce. And that's very important. The key to cooking any type of pasta is to cook it to al dente or a little bit firmer than al dente, to scoop it out of the pot of boiling water and put it directly into the pan with your sauce, and it's going to finish cooking in the sauce, and the noodles will or the pasta will absorb the flavor in that sauce instead of just coating the sauce. You want it to be a really cohesive pasta dish, and that really is the key. And the pasta water is also kind of the secret weapon, because when the pasta's cooking, it releases all of the starches that are in that pasta And the pasta water really, really helps thicken sauces, which you might not think it would because it is water. But that starch content is the secret weapon. So we're just going to cook this down until it's really, really nice and crispy. Now this dish definitely is kind of more of a cheat meal or a comfort food because of the fat that is in this dish. Of course, if you wanted to discard some of the bacon fat, which I'll have to see what mine looks like when I'm done cooking, you can, because this bacon was a little bit fatty, so it might give me a little bit more fat than I'm looking for, but you don't want to drain off all the fat. The fat is what is really going to make this sauce come together. Every once in a while, you just want to check on your pasta, make sure it's not sticking. And as you saw before, I keep my salt in this cute little wooden jar that I actually got from Sur La Table because I had a gift card. But I like to have my salt loose because it's much easier to keep track of how much salt you're adding into your food if you're actually using your hands versus using, say, a salt and pepper shaker like this. This is something that I use you know, on the table when I'm serving dinner so that people can add a little bit more salt and pepper to their dish. But this is not something that I typically use salt out of, but I do use the pepper side of this when I cook just for fresh ground black pepper, which is going to be one of the key garnishes in this dish. This dish is known for that black pepper, so I'm really excited for that. But definitely use some sort of receptacle like this when you're using salt in your dishes. So I'm just going to finish this up. It's getting there. Now the important part of this dish is once the bacon is cooked, we need to lower the heat to pretty much its lowest setting, because once we add our egg yolks to this dish to make the sauce, we don't want to scramble our egg yolks because then we're going to have scrambled eggs instead of an emulsified egg sauce. So we need to be very careful. I might even actually take this pan off the heat just to cool the pan down a little bit. I think I'm going to actually do that. I'm just going to set it over here. Let me lower this for a minute, just so my pan can kind of cool down a little. My bacon at this point is very nice and crispy. And my pasta still has about 3 minutes. Alright, so we're back. So my pasta is done cooking, and this is the important part. I have my pan actually off just because I have an electric stove and the heat actually retains really well. I'm going to take some tongs and add it right into my pan with the bacon, not worrying about the pasta draining off. You want the water in our saucepan because that water is going to help emulsify with the fat to make our sauce. Scoop all of it out as best I can. Don't want any little soldiers left behind. There we go. And if I need to add more pasta water, I have a little measuring cup here for me to do so. So I'm going to make sure that I get all the pasta really nicely coated in that bacon fat and the pasta water. You really want to swirl the pan so that it comes together and really kind of emulsifies. Whoop, get back in there. And now is the fun part. So we need to add in our egg yolk. And we need to be very careful when we mix it that it all comes together and we don't scramble our eggs. So I'm actually going to move this pot out of the way. And I'm going to reserve a little more pasta water in case I need some. You want to have all of your ingredients, or all of your mise en place, as chefs call it, ready for when you need it. So I have this off the heat. These noodles are very messy. And I'm gonna take my egg yolks and very carefully drizzle it in. You want to drizzle it over the pasta itself, being very, very careful. You don't want this mixture to scramble at all, so you want to constantly keep everything moving and have it off the heat. And I'm going to post a recipe for this, of course, in the description. This I just kind of eyeballed because I've made it a bunch of times. And it's one of my favorite things that I learned how to make when I studied abroad in Florence, Italy. Because we used to make it in the restaurant, and it just brings back such great memories that are going to honestly last me a lifetime. So I'm going to add in some Parmigiano Reggiano, some fresh cracked black pepper. That black pepper is really, really important. It's one of the key ingredients in this recipe. Oh my gosh, this looks so beautiful. As you can see, it is a really nice thick sauce. I'm actually going to add a smidge of that pasta water just to thin it out a little bit. And if you wanted to add a little more egg, you can. It's kind of not a perfect ratio, I think. You know, I don't measure things out that often unless I'm baking, but that's all in the fun of it. But you can see the sauce is really thickened up, and the pasta is just absorbing all of that really great eggy delicious goodness. So I am going to show you a fun way to plate this up. Hey guys, so I'm going to show you the easiest way to plate this spaghetti carbonara so that it looks like it came from a restaurant. And you know what? It came from your own home, because this is the easiest way to make spaghetti look super fancy. So all you need is a pair of tongs and some sort of ladle. So mine happens to be a square ladle, but obviously any ladle will do. And you're going to use your tongs to pick up a nice decent bunch of spaghetti, and you're going to use your ladle to twirl it, and you want to create like a nice tight little nest of spaghetti, and you're going to carefully place that in your bowl while kind of also turning your tongs. Now this particular pasta that I used is a little bit wider than spaghetti, of course, but it's still going to look like a pretty nest. And you kind of keep doing that until you add as much pasta as you'd like to the bowl or to the plate that you're using. You can kind of keep going until you really get the pretty nest that you like. And it is going to look restaurant quality with minimal effort. All you need is a pair of tongs and a ladle to make easy peasy beautiful spaghetti carbonara. Top it with a little bit more Parmigiano Reggiano because cheese is life, and some more of that beautiful fresh cracked black pepper, and you have a restaurant quality dish in no time. I'm going to post the recipe in the description along with some other important links to check out. And if you have any questions, please comment below and I will help you out. Manja!